When we develop our schedule, we use a schedule network diagram. Then, in order to figure out how long our project will take, we conduct a forward pass to determine the early start and early finish dates for all of the activities in our schedule. Most schedules have activities with flexible start and finish dates. In order to determine which activities have flexibility, we will conduct a backward pass. In our example, the durations are expressed in months, and our project will complete at the end of December. Let's quickly go back to our key for the activity node again, because there are 3 more data points included for an activity. The late start date of an activity goes in the lower left corner of an activity node. The late finish date of an activity goes in the lower right corner. And you put the total float in the lower middle of the node. The first step in the backward pass is to copy the early start and early finish numbers from activity F and enter them as the late start and late finish dates for activity F. For the last activity in a schedule, the early start and early finish will match the late start and late finish. Now we will work backward through our network diagram from right to left to determine what the late start and finish will be for each activity. Let's start by asking the question, if December, or 12, is the latest that activity F can start, what is the latest that activity E can finish? You may pause the video at any time to determine the answer, and then resume the video when you're ready to hear the correct answer. If you said 11 or the end of November, you are correct. In order for activity F to start in December, activity E must finish no later than the end of November. Now that we know the late finish, we can also calculate the early finish for activity E. Since activity E is 1 month in duration, we can determine that it will start at the beginning of November. So activity E takes up the entire month of November. Let's keep moving through the schedule. In order for activity E to start no later than November 1st, or 11, what is the latest that the preceding activities can finish? Yes, there are 2 activities that precede activity E, and we have to consider both of them. So in order for activity E to start no later than 11, what is the latest that activities H and D can finish? Feel free to pause the video at any time and resume when you're ready. If you said 10 or the end of October, you are correct. You can also use the durations of activities H and D to determine their early finish dates. This will be important later when we search for flexibility in the schedule. In this example, activity H is 2 months in duration, so it will take up the months of September and October. Activity D is 1 month in duration, so it will take up the month of October. Now let's continue moving through the schedule. Activity D also has 2 activities that precede it, activities J and C. If activity D can start no later than 10 or October 1st, what is the latest that activities J and C can finish? If you'd like more time to think about your answer, just pause the video and resume when you're ready. If you said 9 or the end of September, you are correct. You can also determine that the late start for activity J is 6 or the beginning of June, while the late start for activity C is 3 or the beginning of March. Moving on through our schedule, let's assess activities G, I, and B. Their late finish dates depend on the activities that follow them. Also, they are on 3 different paths, so activity G's late finish date depends on the late start date of activity H. Activity I's late finish depends on the late start date of activity J, and activity B's late finish depends on activity C's late start. Take a moment to calculate each of those. Feel free to pause the video at any time and resume when you're ready. If you said that the late finish of G is 8, the late finish of I is 5, and the late finish of B is 2, you're right, and that's great. The final step is to evaluate activity A. 3 activities follow activity A, so we have to consider the activity that must start earlier than the others. In this case, the late start of activity B is 2, or the beginning of February. This late start is going to pressure activity A to finish no later than the end of January. The late start and late finish of activity A match its early start and early finish. This is generally the case for the first activity in a network diagram. Now that you have completed the backward pass, you can determine all of the early start, early finish, late start, and late finish dates for all of the activities in the project. This will be important later when we search for any flexibility in our schedule.